Welcome to Truckee Talks. I'm your host, Maya Schneider. And with me on today's show is Jim Sayer from the Sierra Business Council. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Maya.
Yeah,
Good to be here.
It's nice to have you here. First, let's talk a little bit about you, where you came from. What are your roots?
My roots. Well, I've been here about a year and a half in Truckee. Came with my family, my wife, and I have three little kids, three daughters who are now in Truckee Elementary, and I have twins who are notorious around town for running away from their parents. And so we've been here a year and a half, and I came up to head up the Sierra Business Council. And originally I was in the Bay Area. I was born in San Francisco, but mostly raised in Lake Arrowhead, down in the San Bernardino Mountains. So real similar to Truckee, more resort-oriented town, but at about 5,000 feet, a little lower than Truckee.
Yes, we're proud of that 6,000 foot mark.
Exactly. So it's nice to be at that elevation again in a mountain community.
Now, you're at the helm of the Sierra Business Council, and we'll talk about the SBC in a few minutes, but how did you find out about the job? What drew you to Truckee?
Well, I found out about it through Lucy Blake, who founded the organization back in 1994. And Lucy and I have been friends for over a decade, and so she had been giving thought to what she was going to do. She's a very advanced person. She's always thinking about 3 years ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
And Lucy and I had started talking about what she was going to do, and she had said, well, I'm thinking about going. And I said, well, if you ever think about that, talk to me about it, because I might be interested. And so we actually had a very seamless transition where they didn't advertise outside. Lucy knew my work, and so she recruited me pretty heavily, as only Lucy can, to take the job. And I ultimately decided to do it.
Well, it's flattering.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Lucy's something else.
Yeah.
And so to have her ask me personally to do this, and then I got to go through the whole gauntlet with the board, because they wanted to know who I was and what I would bring to the organization. So I got to meet some terrific business leaders from throughout the Sierra, and they felt comfortable with me, and so it was great. It was a good match, and it's been a great match.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the Sierra Business Council, and then maybe we can talk about the differences in how you're heading it versus how Lucy did. The Sierra Business Council is?
Well, it's a nonprofit organization. We have 600 plus business members. We also have some other members who are nonprofits or individuals who care about the Sierra and the organization. And as we started in 1994, and there was a desire for a different kind of business voice on issues facing the Sierra Nevada. I mean, there are definitely valuable roles played by chambers of commerce and Rotary clubs, but what we bring to it is research and public policy work on three kinds of capital. Most business organizations look at that bottom line, the financial bottom line, but we look at three kinds of capital: social, financial, and natural. Because what we found from our business members was that 82% of them said they had located in the Sierra for quality of life reasons and for the natural amenities, and they wanted to preserve those. And they were concerned that nobody was speaking out and saying, here's how we can do it in a way that brings everybody together, you know, in a very collaborative way. So Lucy started up the organization with the help of many business people, and that's what we've done for the last 8 years. We've worked on, research where we put together a Sierra Nevada Wealth Index, and I brought a copy along. And this is available to people if you ever stop by our office in Truckee. And it's a great guide, because what we do is we track 45 indicators of social, financial, and natural wealth. So we're trying to see how the Sierra is doing and how it tracks over time. So we do this kind of research. We've also put together a guide called Planning for Prosperity. And this is a wonderful guide showing how we can grow our communities and we can balance our environmental and economic concerns. And this was so well regarded that it won a national award from the American Planning Association back in 1997. We're actually putting together another guide right now on how rural communities can do economic development. And this is a hot issue in Truckee and all throughout the Sierra, because some of them are suffering from the loss of major industries like timber or mining, or their rail yards are shutting down. So they're trying to figure out, what can we do? How can we overcome this dependence on one industry? Others are struggling with the issue of tourism, and is it going to be our only industry? And are we going to find ourselves in the same situation where we've only got one industry that we're dependent on, and if that tanks, what does it mean?
Or even if it doesn't tank, is it the only economy that we want?
Exactly, because as many people here know, tourism is heavily dependent on service employees who end up earning very small wages. And it also has impacts on our needs for affordable housing. So we've put together this guide. It's a companion guide to Planning for Prosperity, and it's going to be called Investing for Prosperity. And what I think is great about it is that it offers a whole bunch of real-life case studies of other rural communities that are struggling with the exact same issues. And so we're going to provide a lot of advice for people they can learn from on everything from how to diversify your economy to how to deal with tourism, to how to build on your existing assets. How do you take, for example, your ranching industry, which is very important in the Sierra still, and make it go? How do you do niche marketing so that you can take your product and market it in a different way to different kinds of markets?
And the benefit there, of course, one of the benefits is the continued diversification of uses of the Sierra Nevada, where you keep your ranch land as ranch land and you don't convert everything to residential or commercial use.
And what's really neat is, especially working at it from the angle of a business council, is that you meet ranchers, you meet people in the tourist industry, and they really want to do the right thing. That's the most gratifying part. You know, people aren't out there just to make a buck. They really understand the value of the Sierra's beauty, its communities, its old downtowns, and they want to make this work. So that's so on the one side we work on research. On the other side, we're trying to do on-the-ground projects that actually show people how this could be done. And so on the ranching side, for example, we just helped broker a deal in the Sierra Valley, which is a half-hour north of Truckee. Beautiful valley. It's the biggest alpine valley in the whole Sierra Nevada. We've been told it's the biggest alpine valley in the West, but I don't want to make that claim, so I have hard and fast evidence. But it's an amazing valley. It's 130,000 acres, which is huge.
Beautiful. It's beautiful.
And it's just gorgeous. And it's mostly in ranching still. And it really, you know, the ranching community's been there for over 100 years, and most of the ranchers want to stay in ranching. So we were able to broker a deal with the owner of the largest ranch. It's Bar 1, and it's north of Loyalton, about 5 or 6 miles. And it's 13,000 acres. Big ranch, and the owners of the ranch wanted to keep it in ranching forever. So we've negotiated what's called an agricultural easement, which is basically the owners selling off the development rights of the property. And so they get some cash for the development rights. It stays in private property, it stays in private stewardship, and so they will manage the property as a cattle ranch. They've also agreed to do some management to preserve the habitat values, because the Sierra Valley is one of the most biodiverse regions in all of Sierra Nevada. They have major deer migrations. It's one of the major birding sites in the Sierra, in fact, in the whole West.
From hot springs to lava plugs, you've got everything there.
Exactly. It's a huge stop on the Pacific Flyway. And so we're getting the best of all worlds. We're going to continue to have a ranch that stays in ranching. The owner gets investment capital to use both for his future investments, for his personal needs, but also to reinvest in the property. We're going to manage it for habitat purposes. And so what's great about that is that it'll maintain the ecological biodiversity of the area. So it wins on the environmental side, it wins on the financial side, and it wins in terms of maintaining the ranching economy and culture of the Sierra Valley. And the proof that this is a popular solution is that we have, I think, 23 other landowners who are really interested in pursuing a similar approach. So it's great. This is what the Sierra Business Council was formed to do, which is to create win-win solutions to the problems that are vexing Sierra communities. And so this is one example.
The Sierra Business Council is comprised of businesses, but not only businesses, individuals, organizations. Give us a cross-section. Give us an idea of what kinds of institutions or businesses are represented in the Sierra Business Council.
Well, I just came back from Mariposa and Oakhurst down in the Southern Sierra, and I was meeting with one of our business members who just won a national award. It's Yosemite Concession Services. They're the biggest employer in Mariposa County. They run all the concessions in Sierra, or in Yosemite. And they've done an amazing thing where they've created this environmental management program to basically reduce their impact on the local environment. And it's been so well regarded that actually it won an international award. It's got this weird title called ISO 14,000. I've told their marketers they need a different kind of...
It sounds like a chemical.
I know, it sounds like some kind of, nation's plot or something like that. So anyways, it's, they won an award for this because they looked at all their operations and how they could make them more environmentally sustainable. At the same time, they're finding it makes them more profitable as well. So that's one member. We have a number of local members. North Star is a member, Sugar Bowl is a member, East West Partners is a member, Cabonas is a member. It's really an interesting cross-section of Truckee businesses. But all throughout the Sierra, we have members who range from really small businesses to large businesses. We have a number of banks like Wells Fargo or Placer Sierra Bank is a member. So it's wonderful because we meet all sorts of folks. In fact, we were noticing this when we do a feature every quarter in our newsletter, and so it's interesting to see the diversity of businesses. This month we have MC Hubbard, who's a senior vice president for Union Bank over in Bishop. The last quarter we had a guy named Jim Nichols, who runs Nichols Consulting Engineers, which is based in Reno, but does a lot of work in the Sierra, and they are pavement management specialists. But you know, hey, if you've ever gone on I-80 between here and the Nevada
You could use
state
some
line,
managing.
Exactly. So they do that kind of stuff. They have given me briefings on how they manage pavement,
Maybe
and it's
they
really
give
fascinating.
Caltrans a few lessons.
Well, I think they like talking with Caltrans. Our next featured person will probably be a guy named Peter Mayfield, who is originally from a dance troupe Project Bandaloop. They dance on the side of buildings and rock faces, and they combine dance with rock climbing equipment. It's pretty amazing. They've even danced down in Reno on the sides of buildings.
This sounds like extreme Cirque du Soleil.
It
Cirque du Soleil isn't extreme
But Peter
enough.
has set up a guide service for the Sierra, which you'd expect. But he's also started to set up these in education centers about Sierra natural history. So Peter's a member. He's also gone through something we run called the Sierra Leadership Seminar, which provides leadership training and facilitation training for people who would like it. And we train about 25 people a year. So Peter went through that, and he's a big backer of Sierra Business Council. So it's just an amazing cross-section of businesses.
I've been to a few of the conferences, and I'm always amazed at the diversity of the types of people who are drawn to it. One of the things, I think I'll pull out the wealth index again. The first time I saw this, I remember being really impressed, and I'm going to hold it up and do a shameless plug here. For this publication, because it's so rich in information. You can go through, flip open any page, and find out information on financial capital in one region versus another, comparative charts of who's growing, how are they growing, what industries are growing, which are shrinking. And then when you talk about measuring social capital, you're talking about everything from the health of its citizens to the education and the outcomes of that education for their children. There's a lot of work that goes into that kind of research.
Absolutely. In fact, what we found is one of the reasons that businesses and banks especially like to join our organization is because they value this so much, because banks depend a lot on data like this. But the other great thing about the Wealth Index is it really shows the power of just information to make a difference. You don't always have to have a real active program to change the quality of life in the Sierra. One thing that we discovered was we had, one of the things we track is teen pregnancies. And Plumas County, they had a fairly high teen pregnancy rate. Well, one person saw this and found out about it and was so discouraged by it that she actually became encouraged to start up a teen pregnancy education program that has become a model program for rural areas throughout the state. It trains young girls on, you know, what can you expect if you get pregnant, and oftentimes,
Can we train some of these young boys on how not to make young girls pregnant?
Yes, I actually have a feeling she has a component to that. Thank you, Maya. But it's been an amazing program, and again, it was just the fact that we were able to say, you know, here are these 12 counties in the Sierra Nevada, and here's the relationship, and we weren't making any judgments. We weren't saying this county is doing badly or poorly or better or worse. We just simply showed the facts, and it prompted this person who was very energetic to take this program.
And that's where education comes in.
Exactly.
The Sierra Business Council is based in Truckee, but you literally cover all of the Sierra Nevada in California.
We try to cover the Sierra Nevada. It's a huge region. It's 400 miles long and at points 100 miles wide.
Right.
And you know, we have the highest point, and you know, it's that little bump in the middle that makes it hard to get over in the wintertime. So it's not easy to get around, but so we try to do that, and we're also trying to do more in Truckee. One of the most exciting projects we just started on, we did some grant writing for the town of Truckee to get money to redevelop what's called the old mill site or the old rail yard site, I guess it depends on how long you've been around, or the balloon track, but it's that site that everybody asks about that's just to the east of Commercial Row. And it's a great site. It's flat, it's relatively undeveloped, it has that balloon track, and it's owned by Union Pacific. It's about 37 acres. And Union Pacific has said that they are interested in the potential for redeveloping that. And this has been in discussion for a long time. You know that from your work on the town council. But we worked with a number of people, including you and Josh Sussman, and just a whole host of people from throughout the community. And we were able to secure a large grant from the state, $350,000, to provide for a redevelopment process for that property. And what's great is that when we developed the grant with the town, we built in a large element of public participation because there are many, many interests in that property. I mean, the town would like to have a new town hall downtown.
I think 14,705 people are interested in what goes on the mill site.
Exactly, but it's such a great opportunity.
Yeah.
And what we've also discovered is that this is happening all throughout the Sierra. I have talked with people up and down the Sierra who are doing redevelopment plans for old mill sites because they're usually located right near the old downtowns. They have great potential for redevelopment. They can be used for affordable housing. I talked to one guy who's trying to develop an organic farm operation down near Sutter Creek in Jackson on 186 acres of an old mill site. And so he's seeking investment capital right now to make this happen. So it's just tremendous. I mean, you see a lot of optimism that people can take these abandoned areas, basically, and redevelop them.
Well, and I give a lot of credit to council members Josh Sussman and Don McCormick too, because they stuck with it.
Absolutely.
A lot of people, including myself, were sort of pessimistic that anything would ever happen with that. What is the Sierra Business Council's role in a project like that for a community? If a community is saying, gee, we've got this brownfield or we've got this area to be developed, what do we do with it? Where does the Sierra Business Council fit in? How do you help them with that?
It really depends on the project. In this case, we help do the grant writing. We would love to work with the town, but nothing's been settled on that yet. But we have a lot of expertise, technical on the planning side, also in public participation. We sometimes will just network entrepreneurs who are pursuing this kind of work. So we may very well bring together a lot of the folks who are working on mill redevelopment so they can trade ideas, trade frustrations, figure out how to get through bottlenecks. Sometimes it's as simple as just a convening function that we can play. But sometimes we can do the hands-on work too. And we've done that in Placer County. We've worked on a thing called Placer Legacy that I've been told has just won a major statewide award for collaboration.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And we're doing that with Placer County, and we're doing it with a host of interests. We've got the Sierra Club and farmers and the building industry all working together on habitat protection plans and working landscape protection plans for the county. So we bring people together, and we actually have done a lot of the technical and scientific work too.
Jim, one of the issues facing the Sierra, facing everywhere, but certainly facing the Sierra in terms of impacts on its natural and environmental wealth is growth and development. We've seen it here in Truckee, we've seen it in the Martis Valley, and we're about to see more of it there. Are you thinking or planning that the Sierra Business Council might play a collaborative role in bringing together perhaps disparate entities and working through those plans?
Absolutely, we already are in Placer County. We tried to do it in Nevada County with a project called Natural Heritage 2020, which was very closely modeled after the other project we're doing in Placer County. And the politics here are pretty polarized in Nevada County. So what we're doing is we're beginning to go down to these other projects where we can get win-win situations, like working on the old mill site in Truckee. So we're looking at those opportunities too. And we're also trying to get new resources into the Sierra Nevada because we get shorted all the time. The state and federal governments are spending billions of dollars.
Yes. Yeah.
We actually did research. I brought one other document that we just prepared where it's got a really boring title. It's called the Sierra Nevada Resource Investment Needs Assessment.
I just finished reading it.
Yes.
It's a boring title,
Yes.
but it's not a boring document.
No, it's amazing because what we were able to find out was how much money is being given to the Sierra Nevada for investment in natural resource protection. And this isn't just acquisition, but it also includes projects like watershed restoration, thinning forests, fuel and fire and fuel load treatment.
Right. Well,
Things
Tahoe
like that.
got a lot of attention a few years ago with the
Yeah.
Environmental Summit, but it seems like most of those resources were funneled to Tahoe.
Exactly.
It's not inappropriate for Tahoe to get some of those dollars, but where's the rest of the region?
Right. I
Where's
mean,
the rest of the Sierra Nevada?
What we discovered is that the Sierra covers 20% of the state of California. It provides 60% of the state's water supply. It provides anywhere from a third to a half of the timber supply of the region. And we found that between 1996 and 2001, the region only got 1% of all conservation investment from the state of California. So the state is heavily dependent on our resources and yet is investing practically nothing in the region. So we worked with a variety of groups like Sierra Pacific Industries, the Building Industry Association, with environmentalists to put together a working group to try and create a Sierra Nevada Conservancy. And this is a state non-regulatory agency that can funnel money into our region. The Tahoe area already has a conservancy, but it only covers 200,000 out of the 20 million acres in the whole region.
Right.
they are getting huge amounts of money right now.
They're pretty glamorous. They've got that big body of water, right?
Yeah, but the Sierra is glamorous.
Yeah, that's
Truckee
right.
is becoming glamorous. You know, everybody wants it. Well, it is. I mean, it's, you know, that's an issue actually for a lot of
maybe.
people.
Yeah.
It is a wonderful place to live and work.
Yeah.
But it's getting shorted when it comes to resources. So the fact that we were able to get that $350,000 grant for the mill site says something, because it was the only small town in all of California that got a grant under this program to recycle what are called brownfields. But again, it was indicative of how we get shorted. I mean, the best example is Prop 50, which just passed. It was on the state ballot this November.
Right.
$3.4 billion for the Water Security Act for California. This is to protect our water supply, to enhance watersheds. The Sierra did get an earmark for the very first time in a state bond measure, but it was $30 million out of $3.4 billion.
And where does all the water come from?
We are the water supply.
We are the watershed.
We are the watershed for the state. We're the ones that provide the water to the $32 billion agriculture industry in California. We provide all the water to Silicon Valley for their chip manufacturing processes. We supply water to San Francisco, Sacramento, all the little budding metropoli of the Central Valley. So anyways, if we're doing that, we should be getting some investment to restore our watersheds.
Yes, absolutely.
So anyways, we're working on that. That's what we're trying to do.
Again, more education, more focus,
More
let people
education.
know.
And we got very, very close last year in the state legislature. We worked with all these different groups to try and get legislation to create this conservancy, and we got to the very end of the session back in August, and you probably know how insane it is in Sacramento as they're trying to finish their budget. And we got very close, and we just missed getting it through the Senate. We got it through the Assembly. We got this close to getting it through the Senate. And even the governor's office was calling us saying, geez, where should we have a signing ceremony? Because everybody thought it was going to get through. And we missed it by just
minutes.
Yes.
Pull your hair out.
It was, but the great thing was that nobody expected it to get that far. Yeah. And so everybody is interested in what's going to happen next year.
It's pushed it that much further along the process.
It's elevated the profile not only of the conservancy, but also the need for investment in the Sierra Nevada. And that's a very exciting thing, because that hasn't happened for many, many years.
Well, let's gear up a little and spend the next few minutes talking about what's in the future for the Sierra Business Council. What's next? How is it different now than when you took the helm?
Well, when we started, Lucy was a real driving dynamic force for the organization, and a lot of it depended on Lucy, you know, the fundraising and a lot of the work that was being done, and she just did a fantastic job.
She really did. Yeah.
But we needed to create a broader based organization with a more dispersal of responsibility. So we've been bringing on new board members, we've been bringing on new staff people who are just terrific. And so that's what we've been doing, is trying to mature the organization. Usually you have a kind of charismatic startup, and then you get other people to come in and try and create more of a mature organization that's going to last for a long time.
So getting out of the teenagehood and into the 20s and getting
or
some
even
stability.
babyhood. We're kind of firing right through adolescence
into straight into
maturity.
Running.
We're not at middle age yet.
Well, before you get too much further down here, let's get the information up on screen. We have contact information for the Sierra Business Council. You can reach the Sierra Business Council here in Truckee at 582-4800, and you can also find their website at www.sbcouncil.org. And it's a good website too.
It is, and you can get most of the information that we've talked about, like this needs assessment is online on our website. The Wealth Index isn't, but you can pick a copy up, and the Guide Planning for Prosperity is on our website.
Is all there. And what we can't do is ask you to go buy it, because this is public TV and we can't do that.
That's okay.
But we can give you the information.
That's okay. There's a lot of free information on the net, and we're willing to provide it. We love for people to come by our office and say hello, because we're right in Brickletown on Donner Pass Road in the old part of Truckee. And we just painted our front door red so that you
we
can go
can
by.
spot you?
It's light blue, but there's a very bright red door.
You understand that will perpetuate the communist theory that some people in town have.
Oh, I don't know about that. It's just a lovely, it's actually a burgundy red.
Oh, okay.
We're right next to the CB White House, and so it's a great place to be. We really like being in Truckee.
Well, you're clearly very busy. I congratulate you on the work you've done so far and wish you luck on everything in the future.
Well, thank you very much, and thank
Jim,
you for having me.
Yeah, it's been nice having you on the show.
Thanks.
All right, stay tuned. We'll be back in just a minute with upcoming events, so stick around. And welcome back to Truckee Talks. Here's your calendar of upcoming events in and around our region for for the week of November 20th. Well, November 21st, the Tahoe Donner Association presents a wine tasting at the Tahoe Donner Clubhouse Bar and Grill. This event will run from 5 to 7 p.m. and is free to the public. We'll assume that's the over 21 crowd for this evening, featuring wine and hors d'oeuvres. Call 587-9435 for more information. And how about $1 lift tickets at Donner Ski Ranch? On November 21st, ages 5 through 69 can ride for only $1 at the ranch. Call 426-3635 and ask Norm, what's up with that? And November 23rd, the Truckee Wolverines varsity football takes on Bishop Minogue for the state championships. The game starts at 1 p.m. at North Valley High School. Wear red and come cheer for the Wolverines in their bid to keep the ring. Go Wolvies. November 23rd and 24th, the Truckee Community Carnival will be held in the Truckee Safeway parking lot. Proceeds benefit breast cancer research and will feature raffles, games, a bakery walk, crafts, and more. Call 550-8035 for details, or just show up from 10 to 6 on the 23rd and 24th. November 24th, the 27th annual Donner Lake Turkey Trot returns. This is not a return to our hunter-gatherer roots to find dinner, but a foot race held at Donner Lake. Registration is the day of the event only, so show up early. The race begins at 10:30 a.m. Call 800-896-5033 for more information. And November 30th, we'll see the return of the Squaw Valley Film Festival. Check out the latest ski and snowboard films from local filmmakers featuring local athletes and local mountains. Call 583-6985 for details. And December 6th through the 8th is the Tiny Tim Christmas Village and Holiday Craft Fair. The community center in Truckee will be transformed into a turn-of-the-century Old English village, that's old with an E, complete with visits from Santa and the elves. Call the Rec and Park at 582-7720 for more information. And coming to a homeowners association clubhouse near you this December, the Truckee Police Department will be conducting a series of public meetings to hear from you. Keep an eye on the Sierra Sun for more details, dates, and times. This is your town government wanting to hear from you, so don't miss this opportunity to let your voice be heard. Well, that's it for this week. I want to thank Jim Sayer again for being our guest on Truckee Talks. I also want to wish the Wolverines the very best in bringing home the state championships. We'll see you next week for a special Thanksgiving show with my friend Ted Owens, who I hope most of my friends won't see us next week on Thanksgiving. Have a great holiday, and we'll see you again on Truckee Talks.
Truckee Tahoe Community Foundation is helping to make a difference.
Truckee Tahoe Community Foundation promotes philanthropy and inspires action to build our community. We steward gifts and grants that encompass the environment, education, arts, health and human services, civic and public benefits, youth development, and recreation.
The Truckee Donner Land Trust depends on partners like the Truckee Tahoe Community Foundation to help us achieve our goal of preserving and protecting open space.
Everywhere that we look to grow, the foundation is there to help us.
Contributing has tax advantages and is made simple.
The foundation makes it easy for you to give back to the community. They have the expertise and the knowledge that the community needs to make this an easy process.
Find out how you can make a difference.